Hello and welcome to MFCP Woodworking. This is one side of the chess set rough carved. I have a chance to look around at it a little bit here. What I want to discuss today is designing your own set, which is what I've done here. If you can notice, there's a whole bunch of things that I've had to take into consideration to try to make them look like they belong together. We'll start out by pointing out that the size of the pieces, the pawns of course are shorter than everything else. They don't have to be. As you can see from the rook, the knight, the bishop, the queen, the king, there's a progression in height of the pieces. Tried to make it even. This will still get adjusted a little bit as I sand the pieces and prepare them. I got some crack filling to do. There's quite a bit of work to do on it. Okay, but that's not the only option you have. You could make all your pieces the same size. There are a whole number of things you can consider when you're doing it. So it's up to you, but you want to make sure these pieces look like they belong together. Another thing I've done is same basic theme. If you notice, looking at the pieces closer, you can see that they all have basically the same footprint base. They're all about the same size. There are options in that as well. Your more important pieces in the back row there, they can have larger bases than the pawns. But I decided with mine to make them all the same size. Also, you have to consider the size of the board they're going to be playing on. In this case, I'm going to be designing the board after I'm finished all the pieces. I could design it now, but I want to finish all the pieces first and get those done. Another thing to consider is how the contrast of colors. As you can see, I got some pieces here that are a little bit darker. That's just a variation within the species, and once they're sanded and all, I think they're going to come closer in color than they are now. However, you've got options for making your pieces, your contrasting your light and dark pieces. The dark pieces can be stained. You can choose to use a different type of wood. Often you'll see maple for the white pieces, and something like walnut for the dark pieces. Gives you a really good contrast. Stain, I've seen walnut stain used. That's actually a good choice. If you're going to choose to do cherry as your dark pieces. The reason being is cherry's light sensitive and will get darker with age. If you chose, for example, to do cherry for your light pieces and walnut as your dark pieces, you'd have a good contrast when you first made the piece, when you first made the set rather. After a number of years, if they've been in the sun much, you'll find that the cherry pieces will get almost as dark as the walnut pieces and you'll lose your contrast. And it'll be confusing for anybody trying to play a game of chess with it. Another thing is I try to make sure my pieces are not that ambiguous, that you don't know what it is. Stylistically, they're my own design, my own style, but if you look at the pawn, you can tell it's a pawn. If you look at the bishop, you can tell that it's a bishop, not a pawn. If you look at the king and the queen, you know that they're the one is the queen, the one is the king. It's clear enough. The knight is clearly different than the rook. I think it's important. I've played with sets where some of the pieces were a little ambiguous, and if you're used to it, it's fine. It's a bit of an unfair advantage if you're playing against somebody who's not used to it. And yes, I've done that in the past, playing with a set where they were not that clear which piece was which. Trying to give you different perspectives on this. For darkening the pieces, you can also ebonize. I don't know how that works with the wood I'm doing, alder. I believe it iron is reacting with the tannins. It works well with your oaks that have a lot of tannin in them, but I have no idea how much tannin is in alder, so I don't know how that would work. I am opting for something different. I'm planning to scorch my black pieces. I'm going to get a torch and I'm going to blacken them. Hopefully darker on the corners and a little bit lighter on the flats in it, because I think it would look cool, and most of the people I've talked to, especially the guys at work, think that would be cool too. Those are things you need to consider when you make them. One thing I encourage you, if you design your own set, if you design it on paper first, sometimes your pieces don't look quite like they do once you've actually made them. So I would encourage you to make an example of all the pieces so you can see how they go together. For me, this is a big stage seeing them all together. I thought for a while that the head on my king and queen are both a little bit too big. I still might shrink that a little bit. I did completely reimagine my rook because I didn't like what I had. I'll talk about that when I may show the video making the rook. So this is what I've managed. I hope if you decide to design your own chess set, more power to you. That's for me, that's the part of the artistic side of it, designing my own stuff. I would encourage you to do that if you want to do that. If you don't want to do that, you can of course copy somebody else's, and I will do a tutorial for each of my pieces here. So if you wanted to imitate this set, you could. I intend eventually to offer plans for it. So this is it. I don't want to say too much. Don't want to make this any longer than I have to. Always remember, time flies whether you're having fun or not. So make the most of it. Thank you.